What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. It's Monday, see what time it is. Time for the mock draft Monday. Going back to half PPR scoring, 12 teams. We're going to do the 101 this time. This is our fourth one. We've done late. We've done two kind of middle ones, so I want to do an early pick this time. And we're going to take away the 3 wide receiver. We're going to go with the traditional format, 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Going to keep all of this the same. So let's get this draft started off. I have my rankings up over here. We're not even going to really talk about the initial pick. We'll talk about every pick after that because obviously you're taking McCaffrey first. So, strategy here. Also had someone ask me in one of the live streams if like the round 2 kind of feels a little bit worse than previous years. Right now, maybe a little bit. I think round 1 is like really strong, but I kind of feel like round 2 almost starts at the end of round 1 and goes like halfway through round 2. But then when we start getting into like the later second round, it's a lot of players who you think should probably be there more in round 3. So maybe that takes away a little bit of the advantage of having the 101, because in previous years, it's kind of seemed like there's been kind of flowing into round 3, still kind of round 2 players. And so when you had a top 4 pick, it was super beneficial getting that top 4 pick plus 2 more that were great. Honestly, I feel like so far this season, pick spot doesn't matter as much. It's, of course, if you draft McCaffrey, he has a season where he has, like 15 to 17 touchdowns, like 70 receptions. That's going to be a pretty big edge that a lot of other people just can't get. But I think that, the drop off in talent kind of in this second round can sometimes make up for it to where, like, if you're going in this like middle range here, you might be getting 2 strong players and then a very similar player as they are getting into the early third round. So we'll kind of see, but that's my initial take so far, is that maybe this year it's not going to be as advantageous having an early pick. But let's try and make a good team with an early first round pick. So we got McCaffrey at the 1. What that basically means is, unless we see something awesome, so unless we saw Derrick Henry, maybe Jacobs, Kyron Williams, Saquon, Taylor, Bijan, Brees, like obviously them. Unless something like that was there at round 2, you're probably just trying to go hero RB. So no running back. Quarterback is fine. I think quarterback is totally fine to take this early. I think I prefer, just strategy-wise, typically waiting until like more of that mid-third round, because there's going to be other points of this draft where like there's going to be good value at quarterback. And by being the first to take it at equal value, like kind of where Josh Allen should generally be going, we're just ensuring that we don't get that great of value at quarterback. Don't love it. So no quarterback, no running back. I would say no tight end. I'd follow kind of the same rule. There's a lot of tight ends that are pretty strong this season. For us to take like Laporta, again, probably a little bit of reach at this point. I don't think we need to do that. So basically, we're going to double dip at wide receiver. We're going to take the top 2 wide receivers on the board. Number 1 wide receiver by, I would say, a good chunk right now is Drake London. I did talk in the live stream about how, this whole thing again. I talked in the live stream about how he's probably going a little bit too early in some underdog drafts, but that's where, like, in the live stream, he went 13th overall. Right? Like we're getting him at 24 there. I do think Drake London is a really strong pick at that 2-3 turn. Even honestly, like just the late second round, he's a pretty strong pick. I mean, I have him ranked 17th. So I think at 205 is 17. I think that's like a pretty good spot to get him. Of course, if you got him at 205, it meant that my top 16 players all, went off the board. So you're hoping you're sitting there at like 19, 20, and he's kind of still off the board, getting a little bit of value. But yeah, I think he's, a strong pick in this range, but early second round feels a little bit aggressive. After that, Diggs is off the board. It looks like you basically have your pick of like DJ Moore. If you wanted to go with Mike Evans, you can go with Mike Evans here. If you wanted to go with Debo, I have Debo 0.5, is it? 0.5 points behind DJ Moore. So if you wanted to go with him, that's fine. But I'm just going to go with the wide receiver I have ranked highest. So we go with McCaffrey. We go with Drake London. We go with DJ Moore. Again, I'll pull up over here the roster so you can see it. We filled our 2 wide receiver spots. Can still go wide receiver if we want to here because we have that flex option. But we don't want to go too heavy into wide receiver in half PPR with only 2 wide receiver spots and 1 flex. We don't want to be drafting like 6 in a row here. But we drafted McCaffrey and we can definitely do sort of an RB0 build. Kind of unfortunate running back. A lot of running backs I love come off the board. Rashad White, Mixon, Pacheco, David Montgomery goes a little bit early. Devon Achane, Ken Walker. Would have loved Ken Walker at this spot. So we don't get any of them. We see a boatload of quarterback go. Richardson is the first quarterback to go off the board. That's wild. Josh Allen, not wild in the sense that it's like unbelievable, but wild in the sense that, like, you know, if this was an actual draft, that person may have been able to get them at 409, which obviously is a bit of a reach, getting them at 304. They went. But Richardson, Allen, Mahomes, Hurts, Dak, Lamar, quite unlikely we take a quarterback at this spot. Laporta, Mark Andrews, Kelsey all go off the board. And then, you know, just some wide receivers that you'd expect. Debo, Kupp, Evans, Nico, Tank, Waddle, and Higgins. So nothing too crazy besides the Richardson one there. Top quarterbacks are Stroud, Burrow, Murray. We just missed out on some really, really strong options. There's a drop off there. I don't think we're going to go with quarterback here. Running back, I would say there's actually a drop off. I think the tier here is correct. James Cook into everyone else. I have James Cook at 35. That's the 311. We're at the 412. So that's really good value. And my next ranked running back is Alvin Kamara, but that's at 505. So that's a really, really big difference. So we should star James Cook. That should be a very high consideration for us. Trey McBride, I do also have as a good pick. Not as good as Cook, but I have him at 402, pick 38. And he would be the top tight end. So those two are great options. DK Metcalf, let's see. Metcalf I have at 412, so perfectly even value. I didn't even see Diggs in the last one. So I do have Diggs at half a point higher. So it was Debo, up half a point is DJ Moore, up half a point from there is Stephon Diggs. I just didn't see him on the draft board. So Stephon Diggs would be our pick there. So 3 players that is going to impact our team here. Which 2 we end up with, I think it's very clear you're taking one of those 3. So what do we think? Value-wise, just strictly looking at the rankings, it says take Stephon Diggs and James Cook and don't take Trey McBride. We will not end up with Trey McBride if we pass on at this spot. But is it possible we get Dalton Kincaid at the next pick? Absolutely. You'd prefer Kincaid in a full PPR league, but like in the video I did on Saturday, I think Kincaid could be the number 1 scoring tight end this season with 100 receptions, so I'd be totally fine with him. I would also be fine with Pitts, Evan Ingram, David Njoku, Ferguson. Bowers definitely looks like a good value here at 13. We're getting a little bit hairy beyond that. I think my gut is saying don't do McBride. I think my gut is saying, like, you know, last round, Diggs was a pretty strong value, so getting him here, you know, being able to start London, Moore, Diggs, and having McCaffrey and Cook, it feels like what we should do. So I think I'm going to pass on the value for McBride here. Hurts a little bit, but it is what it is. I think that's still the correct decision. So we'll take these 2, and we will see what is left for us at the next pick. So again, our team on the left here, McCaffrey, James Cook, and then 2 wide receivers, Drake London, DJ Moore, flex spot, Stephon Diggs. Okay. After us, only 1 quarterback goes, CJ Stroud. So quarterback is definitely an option now at, 6-7 turn. 2 tight ends. McBride almost makes it back to us. He goes 2 picks before. That would have been insane value. But Pitts and McBride go. Only 5 wide receivers. Cooper, Metcalf, Rashee Rice, who's still going too early. Devonta Smith, which is a great value for him. And then Christian Kirk, good value there. And then a million running backs. This will be the last time I probably list off all these players, but a million running backs that we should take note of. Kamara, Aaron Jones, Chubb, Stevenson, Swift, James Conner, Javonte Williams, and then in order, just back to back, Zamir, Najee, Moss, Eckler, Mostert, Pollard, Devin Singletary. So there's no way, I haven't seen the running backs yet. There's no way it's a good value for us here. Yeah, I mean, having McCaffrey and James Cook, I like Warren a lot. I'd be totally fine taking him, but value-wise, we kind of just missed out on some better options. So there's Warren, there's Brian Robinson, Tyjae Spears, Chase Brown, Jonathan Brooks, but I don't think that's the play, really. Wide receiver, still some great options. Neighbors, Flowers, Keenan Allen. We have DJ Moore, and I would say Underdog, you're jumping on that. Redraft, you probably don't want to be taking 2 of them there. especially one riding the bench. It's going to be so frustrating, right? You're trying to predict, DJ Moore versus Keenan Allen. It's like usually you'll have DJ Moore in there, then Keenan Allen goes out there and it's 10 for 100, and you're like, well, that was annoying to have on my bench. But yeah, then I would say a drop-off. So Neighbors, Flowers, Keenan Allen, Pickens, drop off into that like McLaurin kind of Ridley kind of range. Kincaid is still there. And so my gut is telling me go with Kincaid. I have Kincaid at 406, only projected for 3.4 points behind Trey McBride. So I said it would have been a great value getting McBride. It's an equally good value getting Dalton Kincaid here. So I think Kincaid's a great pick, but also these are really good wide receiver values. You definitely have to take at least one of these receivers. I know this fills up the bench, but Neighbors and Flowers being available at this spot is kind of ridiculous. I guess 410. I mean, that's still great value, but 410 for Neighbors, and then a little bit of a drop off down into Zay. So I think the move is you take Kincaid, you take Neighbors, and you just say, I'm going to have 4 really awesome wide receivers here. I think we can hold off on quarterback. Actually don't think, 5'10", 5'11 for, actually he's gone. But Burrow would be a strong value here. Really Burrow, Love, and Murray. And I see no drop-off there. I don't see a drop-off into Love. It's the same tier for me. But I think one of them could probably be there maybe at our next pick because people went heavy, right? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 teams that haven't taken quarterback yet. 3 of the 4 would have to take one for all of them to be off the board. Yeah, I think that's the play. Okay. So we'll take Neighbors here. That one just feels like a really strong value we probably just can't pass up on. And then we will take Dalton Kincaid, fill out that tight end spot. So the team, I'm liking it. I'm liking the team a lot. McCaffrey, James Cook. At wide receiver, we've got Drake London and DJ Moore. Flex spot, Diggs. Bench, we've got Neighbors, and we've got Dalton Kincaid in there at tight end. 3 quarterbacks go off the board, but it's not the 3 we wanted. Burrow and Kyler go, but Love is still there. Looks like Tua comes off the board. Okay. A lot of wide receivers. Only running backs are Brian Robinson, Warren, Gus, Spears, Jerome Ford, and Brooks. But that makes sense because we kind of saw that little tier break at that position. And then a lot of wide receivers, which is great for us because now it's getting to the point where we probably shouldn't take, well, we still could, but it's getting less valuable for us to take our 5th and 6th wide receivers having such strong top 4. We should really be looking more at quarterback right now, maybe going back to running back. And so seeing all these wide receivers go, it's like great. Probably wasn't the best spot for us to draft them anyways. So I'll pull up the draft board. Just to look at the wide receivers, top ones are Hollywood, Hopkins, Adunze, Christian Watson, JSN, Jameson Williams, but nothing there stands out. So we're not going wide receiver with either of these. We just took Kincaid, so we're not going to take a tight end. So we're down to running back and quarterback. I see Jordan Love as a tier ahead of everyone else. I have Jordan Love at 602. We're at 812, so that's a great value. And then I don't have another one until Purdy and Caleb Williams as late 7th into 8th round picks. So good values, but nothing crazy for them. So I think Jordan Love should probably be one of our picks here. And then we should just take the top running back on the board. My guess is that is Chase Brown. Let's see. We'll pull up running back. Scroll to the top. Yeah. Chase Brown, and then Spears did end up going. Good options after that, but it actually is kind of Chase Brown and then a little bit of drop off after that. So we will do it. I feel like the draft is working out really nicely so far. We've got our starting lineup locked in now. We've got depth at each one of these important positions on our team, running back and wide receiver, obviously 2 very important positions. And we've got strong players. Like we're not, number 1, number 2, number 3 at quarterback. We have Jordan Love, though, who I think is going to be consistent for us and have a lot of upside. And we've got Dalton Kincaid, who again, I think is a very, very high ceiling tight end this season. Only had the 2 touchdowns last year, but, that's touchdowns. Touchdowns variance is definitely going to be there. And if they kind of feature him as a weapon in this offense, he could easily get up to 7 or 8 touchdowns. He could easily approach 90 to 100 receptions. That's obviously super valuable at tight end. And I think he's going to be much more consistent this season. So I like this. Again, starting lineup, Love, McCaffrey, James Cook, London, DJ Moore, Kincaid, Diggs, and then we've got Neighbors and Chase Brown on the bench. So we've got 5 more bench spots. We'll have the option of drafting, another quarterbacks, I would say round 8 is close to that cutoff where it's like typically if your first one comes in round 10 or later, you're going to want to draft 2. If you have 10 or later, you want to draft 2 of them. We're at the late 8th round, so if one becomes a really good value, we'll take that. But we might just kind of fill out the bench with running back and wide receiver. And we'd probably do a pretty even-ish split, but we could do more running backs on the bench just because we went so heavy at wide receiver early on. And I don't think we're going to draft a tight end. Like maybe if we see Ingram and Njoku there, like our next pick, which would be the late 12th and early 13th round, then maybe we'd be like, hey, don't let someone else get that value. Draft one of them and maybe we can do trade. Maybe we can stream. Maybe, Kincaid's not exactly what we think, but we'd be getting 2 great values at tight end. I'd be fine with that as well, but definitely not this pick. So no quarterback, no tight end at this pick. Looking at wide receivers, Dobbs is fine, and if we're betting on Jordan Love having a really good year, I mean, that likely hits if his receivers are doing well, which Dobbs is his second or third best receiver. It kind of depends on how Christian Watson really plays out. Not in love with Cooks, Judy, Gabe. Shaheed is fine because they didn't really add anyone in that wide receiver core. It's just ceiling-wise. He's not a very high ceiling, maybe weekly ceiling, but like overall season-long ceiling, it's not insanely high. A lot of players, honestly, that are similar to players going later than them in my confidence rating. So I feel like the best move here is to just double dip at running back, take 2 more shots, go for high upside. I would say Kendre Miller, I don't believe adding a running back in the draft. Kamara being another year older, him being someone who, like, if Kendre Miller was in this year's draft class, I don't know if he would be first, but he would probably either be first or second who was drafted. And he may have been the first running back in his class. Like, he was a pretty good prospect last year. Had a little bit of injury issues he had to work through. But, he's could be their early down grinder this season. I think he's a high upside play. I think he's a very underrated play right now. Other than him, you're looking at the high upside potential rookies, right? Lloyd and Jalen Wright. You're looking at later on, Pierce, Miles Sanders, Esteem. For right now, yeah, definitely Kendre, maybe Gibson. I'll pull up just the running back rankings so I can get them all on one screen. Gibson, I think, has upside if Stevenson got hurt, but you would definitely need that to happen. Yeah, it looks like Lloyd. Lloyd would be the top option, which I think makes sense. I feel like Dylan's going to get moved. I don't think Dylan's going to be on the team this year. I think they're going to go with Jacobs as not the feature back, but like getting, a ton of workload on the ground through the air, and then mixing in Lloyd to be like discount Aaron Jones. Like, they like him like Aaron Jones, but he's obviously not as good as Aaron Jones. And so maybe we can have a lot of weeks where he kind of like racks up 3 or 4 receptions, like I like the high, like he's not gonna have 3 or 4 catches every week, but a good chunk of weeks where it's like, oh, okay, maybe they're playing from behind, maybe, he can kind of be in that pass catching role in the second half of the game. And so it's like, 3-4 receptions in those weeks, maybe adds on like 6-7 carries, and maybe that can get me by at some point. And then obviously he'd have significant upside if Jacobs went down. And worth noting, he was my model's number 1 running back. So I think Brooks is still the better prospect. I think he's the person who should be going first in fantasy. But my model looked at Marshawn Lloyd and said, he's the one you want. He's the one in fantasy, has the most upside. So I think this makes sense. Let's take Miller and let's take Lloyd. And you shouldn't worry, especially these turn picks. You can't really worry about ADP. Like, the odds that these guys are there your next round, like, you can't just start guessing who's going to be there, 24 picks later. Like, you got to kind of just make the moves that you want, especially, this late in the draft. So we get Kendre, we get Marshawn Lloyd. A lot of running backs do go. A lot of ones that we liked kind of come off the board. Only 4 wide receivers. A.D. Mitchell, Gabe, Dobbs, and Judy. So the top end ones. And then a lot of tight ends do go, so we're probably going to end up with 1 tight end. Ingram, Njoku, Bowers, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson. They all come off the board. So yeah, I'm not going to go there. And then Cousins, Lawrence, Herbert, Fields come off the board. So don't think we're going to go with quarterback. We're not going to go with tight end. And I don't think we need to go with running back now. So I think we kind of shift our focus back to wide receiver. We put our thinking caps on. We say who's got the most upside. I will pull up the rankings and see who we would have ranked the highest at this spot. My guess is Brandon Cooks probably is the highest ranked. It doesn't feel amazing, but I guess they didn't really do anything. They didn't do anything to like fill that role, right? Like, let me just see. It would be if Pearsall, so Pearsall is still there. We could probably wait on Pearsall. All right, yeah, it is Brandon Cooks. The thought with Cooks is basically like he looked kind of dusty last year, but he had some good games. They did get rid of Gallup. They didn't really bring him on. I mean, I kind of like Tolbert as a prospect. I think there's a chance that like Tolbert gets some hype this summer, and maybe he has the upside kind of overtake. You wouldn't really need to draft Tolbert. I mean, really, like the last pick on Underdog is where you would be drafting Tolbert if you had a Dallas stack. But I guess it's not the end of the world. I don't know. Let me know who you guys would draft with this one. I feel like... Oh, actually, I have Shakir. I didn't even see that. I have Shakir a little bit ahead. Okay. Basically, it's Cooks, Rashid, Palmer, Shakir, drop off into Polk, Pearsall, drop off again. So I want 2 of these 4. Yeah, the rankings say Shakir and Shaheed. I think I'd prefer Shaheed. Shaheed's at least younger, has a little bit more room to develop, and they truly did not add anyone. So it's like it is really just him and goodness, why can't I even think of his name? Olave. Yeah. Him and Olave. So yeah, pretty good value for Shaheed. I don't know, like I can't see Cooks having like a high-end season. So let's just take Shakir. Let's take the 284 is it? Available targets. I do truly think Shakir is probably capped out at like 80 targets, but maybe I'm wrong. He'll be used a little bit downfield because he's pretty good downfield. And maybe, he hits for 100 targets and he's someone we consistently kind of throw into that flex spot. That's basically the upside we're looking for. So players get drafted. I don't think you guys really care too much about the bottom of the screen there. So we'll go back to the cheat sheet here, pull up the roster. Number of players. So at running back, we have McCaffrey, James Cook, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, Marshawn Lloyd. We got 5 running backs. And then we've got Drake London, DJ Moore, Stephon Diggs, Neighbors, Shaheed, and Shakir. So we've got 6 wide receivers. I would say running back is probably the move at this spot. But if you wanted to go Pearsall for the upside, you definitely could. I would say Esteem. I don't think he's going to overtake Javonte Williams, but I do think he's going to probably overtake Jaleel McLaughlin and probably overtake Samaje Perine. And he's got the upside to earn early down work over Javonte Williams as well. So, just given that level of upside this late in the draft, it's him. You can take a shot on Vidal if you want to. I don't really want to go there. I would say Esteem. Yeah, and I don't like Madison. Last year, we were talking about how Madison, it's like everyone's drafting him because of opportunity. But it was like we had no evidence that he was any good. And then we got the evidence last year that he is, in fact, not good. So we'll take the upside of Esteem here. And then we'll take our tight end. I don't know, again, I haven't done any research into tight ends. I say tight end and a defense. I haven't done any research into defense. So we'll just take a random one there. Don't worry about the score, obviously. We are much too early in the season. I like this build. So the weak points of this team are, does Jordan Love have a season like he had last year? Because wasn't Jordan Love like a top 5 quarterback last season? He was top end, and all of his weapons are young, and they upgraded running back, and Christian Watson might actually be healthy this season. So Love has a ton of upside. McCaffrey obviously is going to win his games. But Love, McCaffrey, James Cook, Drake London, DJ Moore, Dalton Kincaid, Stephon Diggs, Browns defense. Love that starting lineup. And I like the upside of the bench. Neighbors as my wide receiver 4 is like unfair. That's insane value. Neighbors, Chase Brown, Kendre Miller, Lloyd, Shaheed, Shakir, and Audric Esteem. So I like the upside there. Let me know what you guys think. What is this? This guy doesn't like us very much. We don't need to be promoting anyone else. I was curious about the projected standings. I wonder if because I do have my rankings in here. There we are. So I think this team is a B+. And I feel like I kind of agree. This definitely wasn't like a, A+ draft. I liked the draft a decent amount, but we got good values. We just missed out on some really good values. B plus feels a little bit fair. So let me know what you guys would have done differently in the comment section down below. Tomorrow, we're going to have a live stream, 6:30 Eastern. Come with any questions you have, literally any question. Redraft, Underdog, Dynasty, I don't care what it is. Any question you have, Keeper League, come with that, ask it. I answered all the questions last week. I'll try and do the same this week. But yeah, that's the end of this one. If you're still watching this far, you would at least somewhat like the video. Can we get a like for those of you still watching? And if you haven't subscribed yet, why not subscribe? It's free to subscribe. You're just going to see more free fantasy content. So hit the like button, hit subscribe as well, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.